Love often takes unexpected twists and turns, but that just makes the story more interesting.
My eye caught her, and that was it.
Oh my goodness, I think I'm falling in love with this boy.
I told my husband, if you marry me, you're going to laugh for the rest of your life.
Join us as we continue to bring to life the Canadian love stories of romance, family, friends, and community.
Well, love is the most important thing.
My favorite is just making people realize how beautiful they are. It breaks my heart when people come in and they're nervous and they're like, I'm not going to find anything that I like. I'm not going to feel pretty. But at the end of the day, they've got like 5 favorites that they can't pick from. Like that lights me up.
So let's talk about our guest today.
I recently went wedding dress shopping with my best friend and it hit me like lightning. Why have we not done a wedding dress episode? And I found the cutest little bridal shop in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and the boutique manager just was an absolute ball of energy, and I knew she had to come on the show.
And what did you love about Emma, who is our guest today?
Oh, her energy is electric. I mean, when we were talking on the phone before this, she just had this aura about her, and I knew that she was so passionate about what she does. She cared so much about her clients, and you just absolutely had to talk to her.
And I have a feeling that with her, it's about a lot more than selling dresses.
I think you might be right. I think there's a little bit more than just selling dresses in that industry, but we will see.
Okay, I'm going to go digging for the deets. Thanks, Maddie.
Thanks, Nancy.
Here we go. Emma, welcome to the Canadian Love Map.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I am so interested to know what your relationship to the idea of weddings and brides was when you were a little girl.
Oh, like dream job. If you would have told me when I was like 10 years old that this is what I would be doing now, it wouldn't have sounded real.
So
yeah.
Were you one of those little girls who thought about your, your
definitely.
dream wedding?
Say Yes to the Dress was on like any minute I could watch the TV. Yeah, I was absolutely obsessed and still am.
But that's not the direction you took when it came time to choose a career.
No. I actually was in healthcare for a little bit. So I was doing work with elderly people, that sort of thing, personal support workers, what they called it. I was helping people that way and then happened to see a job posting on Indeed looking for a bridal consultant. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun.
Okay, I want to get there. But
Yeah.
I'm curious first to slip backwards and just ask you, what was it that drew you into the helper role in healthcare?
I initially got into it, I guess. I had like a family friend who was looking for someone to care for their mom. So I was able to kind of like dip my toes in the water that way. And I was like, I'm really happy here. Like helping someone when they're maybe not in the best state of mind or just going through a hard time. Just being able to bring like that little bit of light into their day. It was really, really special and important to me. So then when I thought, like maybe I can actually make like a full-time thing out of this,
That's exactly what I was getting at, because I think so many people who are drawn to healthcare, it's not just about the science of it. It's
not at all.
Right?
And that's not the perspective. Like obviously, like you needed to be educated in that way too, but it was more just the relationship building with people. Like when you need that, like I said, that little bit of like joy in your day, I was that person to bring that. So that's how I always looked at it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And you then sort of took a pivot to really go in a different direction.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I guess I got into it just shortly before the pandemic. It would have been about like a year and a half before maybe. But yeah, saw the job posting on Indeed. I was like, that sounds fun. Like that's something I've always dreamed of doing, even as a little kid. Threw my resume in and the rest is history. Yeah.
So tell me about what you're doing now and what that job consists of, not only the science part, but the art part, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The details, but also the feeling.
Absolutely. Basically what we do is we want to be able to offer our brides like an experience, right? It's not just about like finding the dress, it's how you find that dress. And it shouldn't matter your timeline, your price point, anything like that. We just want it to be like a memorable experience for them.
Okay, so it does sound like an experience. Set the scene for me when someone is walking into your boutique. What's it like?
So First thing you'll see, like as you're coming up our way, we like to have our brides' names on like a little light box. So that's like they're excited before they walk in the door. Like, I am ready for you. Your name's there. It says, get ready to say yes. And then whatever the bride's name is. No pressure.
Great.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great.
Yeah, but no, they'll walk in and it's just honestly like a sea of dresses. And what I really love about our space is because we're off the rack, I'm not limited to a certain set of designers. Like, there is so much that you can find. So when you're looking at the racks, there's little things that'll jump out at you because they're just so unique. You won't see them anywhere else, right? So no, it's honestly overwhelming, but in the best way possible because the options are endless.
What is it about dealing with a bride that is special for you?
Well, obviously, like, it's typically like a once in a lifetime kind of experience. It's not usually like a repeat kind of thing that you're doing. So
Not
just
with those big puffy white dresses. That's for sure.
no. And I mean, we do often get in like brides who are getting married a second time or whatever, but it's typically that first like experience for them. So it's just making sure that it's, super special, a really, really happy time. And it's just so interesting meeting all these different people and how they came about, right? Like what they think of what a wedding is. Some people think it's like a big, like elaborate thing. Other people, it's more of just a celebration, and it's just helping them along the way.
I know you have some amazing stories about brides, and I'd love to dive into those. I always say that storytelling is the oldest form of human communication, and I think it's how we are inspired as humans.
Absolutely.
And I've read some of your stories,
Yes.
and I was exactly that. I was inspired. I know there's a great story of one of your first brides.
Yeah.
Who maybe had a very limited budget.
For sure. So she came in and she was only hoping to spend like X amount of dollars and whatnot. Like, obviously I had dresses to show her. They just weren't really speaking to her. She wasn't really feeling any of them. I let her know, like, we're always getting in new things, come back in a couple of months. I might have something different. But in the meantime, I got talking with another wedding venue owner out here in Halifax, and we were like, let's work together. Let's do a little like giveaway or something. So we were able to put together this thing where I was able to give a dress away, do it for free. And then she was able to offer like a small little elopement package. And we just kind of combined all that through like a giveaway on social media. So
what kind of reaction did you get?
Oh, people were pumped. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, people were super, super excited. Even people who, were probably still planning on doing like their big wedding. This is just another fun way to kind of extend that whole wedding process and have another little event. But we had tons of people enter. And when it came time to draw the names, I, threw them all into the random name picker or whatever. And wouldn't you know it, one of the first girls who I helped, her name popped up and she won. So we got to have her back in. There was no like budget to kind of go by. She was just able to pick what she loved, and yeah.
Oh, I bet she was
amazing.
Beaming.
Oh my gosh, I'll never forget like the DMs when I was messaging back and forth with her to let her know that she won. She was just like all caps, freaking out. Yeah.
I can only imagine, you talk about her not finding the dress she was looking for, that something didn't speak to her. I think that's what you said.
Right.
And it is a really interesting part of your job, probably, to manage expectations. Because I think of a bride, especially a young bride who's coming in, and here she is stepping into this world of dresses where she's going to find the perfect one.
Yeah.
And she leaves without finding it.
That can happen. I'll say like the majority of the time I do have something that someone will love. But it's definitely, I feel for the brides when that happens. It can be defeating. But like I said, the good thing with Off the Rack is we are always getting new stuff in. So I'm able to build those relationships with people and, kind of keep in the back of my mind, okay, like so-and-so is looking for X, Y, and Z. So if X, Y, and Z comes into the boutique, I know who to call.
So it's really relationship building as well.
Exactly. And I'm totally upfront with people, like I might not have what you're looking for today, but tomorrow it could be here.
It sounds like you're a coach as well.
It is in a way, for sure. Well, even in the sense, like some people come in and they don't know what they're looking for. So I'm the one to help them guide and coach them. Like, what do you feel good in,
And on the coaching side, do you ever get into like a bartender almost, where you get into personal conversations and you
for
can get a
sure.
sense of whether this wedding is going to be on the rails or off the rails?
Girls who try to make sure the dress is danceable, I always know that they're going to have a really good time. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because it's all about the fun.
Exactly. They want to be comfortable. Some people don't care if they can't sit in the dress. They just want to look good. There's different criteria for everybody.
And what is that? What is that moment like? If you can describe it or sort of deconstruct that idea of the dress speaking to them, because it's more than just a human being looking at an object.
Absolutely. There's definitely like an emotional thing to it as well. Obviously, like you want to feel good and like comfortable in the gown, because if that's not there, it oftentimes isn't reflecting like what other people are seeing too, right? Like if you feel uncomfortable, people are going to know that you look uncomfortable.
Right on.
So just finding that, happy medium for people where they can feel like the most beautiful version of themselves, but they're also not feeling like they're playing dress up in a way.
Yes.
It can be a tough road to navigate.
We couldn't share the great stories that we do here on the Canadian Love Map podcast without the amazing support of Charm Diamond Centres. They are Canada's largest family-owned jeweler, and they're proud to be putting love on the map. The folks at Charm Diamond Centres are thrilled to be a part of your love story. So visit charmdiamondcenters.com or one of your local stores. Love starts here. So it's almost like you're looking for something that hits an authentic note with them.
Absolutely.
That they see as part of their own personality.
Yeah. Oh, there's been so many times where people will get into a dress and they're like, I love it. It's just not me. Right? Like, and I always say to people, like, you can love a dress, but it just not be your wedding dress, right? There's going to be something that makes you feel like you and beautiful on top of that.
Okay, let's talk about more stories.
Yeah.
About brides. For instance, your mail order bride.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. This one was probably like, it goes down in like my all-time favorites. I got a call from a bride right after we had shortly opened Reverie. So it was just maybe like the beginning of 2024. Anyway, get a call. This girl is like next to tears on the phone. She's like, I don't know what to do. I get married next weekend. I ordered my dress off of Amazon. It smells and it's filthy. So I'm like, I don't know what seller you found, but let me help you, girl. So I was like, don't stress, take a deep breath. It's all good. So I kind of had to go back to what I was doing during the pandemic. I was selling dresses via FaceTime or Zoom on a mannequin, chatting with the bride over video call. So I said to her, I'm like, okay, that's what we're going to do. Give me 2 seconds. So I switched the phone over to video, had her on a tripod, and I brought
Where
over,
was she? Sorry to interrupt.
Labrador.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Newfoundland. Yeah. So
Got
like
it.
she had no other options,
no.
right? Oh my God, I felt so bad for her. So
You were her fairy dress mother.
oh yeah. And like I'm trying to like keep calm myself because I'm like, you get married in a week. Like that's a really short timeline. But anyway, started chatting with her. I'm like, what do you kind of like envision yourself in? Like if you could have like that perfect dress. So she's like, oh, I'd love it for sleeves, ball gown, ruffles. And I'm like, okay, I think I have what you're looking for, but I didn't want to get her hopes up because if it didn't end up working out like size-wise or whatever, like I'd hate to break her heart like that. So I'm showing her other stuff and she's finding a few that she's liking. I'm putting them on the mannequins. And I said to her, I'm like, okay, I have one and I think it might work, but I want to take measurements first before I even show it to you because I'm not going to show you a pretty thing and then say you can't have it, right?
Oh, that's so sweet.
So she's measuring herself and I'm like looking at the size chart and I'm like, okay.
Check.
Okay.
Check.
Like everything's
Check.
lining up. So I said to her, I'm like, okay, I've got one and you're going to love it. And I put it on and she just starts sobbing. She's like, that's my dress. And yeah, the measurements were perfect. So she ended up having a good friend in like the courier shipping business. So I said to her, I apologize, but I'm like, I only have this small little box. Like I got to stuff it all in there. So I did. I stuffed that.
You're going to
big
need a
ball
steamer.
gown. Oh yeah. Stuffed it in this big ball gown in this tiny little box. I like wrapped tape all around it so it didn't like bust right open. And yeah, her friend in the courier business picked it up, had it overnighted to Labrador, and she got married that next weekend.
And did you hear from her afterwards?
I did. Yeah. And she was like, you saved my day. I've been meaning to share her photos online because they're beautiful. But yeah, no, it was perfect. She looked so beautiful.
And that's a perfect example of what I asked you about being a coach.
Yeah.
You know, you really took her in a stressful situation. In her world,
For sure,
that
for
was
sure.
a stressful moment. I know it seems like a first world problem when you consider what's going on in the world.
In the grand scheme of things. But it's an important day for
in
people.
In an
Yeah.
individual's life, that's really important.
Absolutely.
Okay, that is just beautiful. And I know that there's also a story about two brides. Oh, do you know which one I mean?
Oh, yeah, I know the one.
Okay.
That one was like what bridal consultant nightmares are made of. But like it all worked out fine.
But it's a very 2024 kind of issue, isn't it?
Yes. I helped this bride find her dress. She's like, oh, I'll definitely tell my fiance to come check you out. Months go by. I don't really hear anything. And then I'm in a bridal appointment. And she's telling me that like I'm helping her try on dresses and whatever. Telling me what she wants to try. And I put her in this one dress. And she's like, oh, yeah. So like my fiance would love this. And she's like, I think she actually got her dress from you. And I'm like, oh, like nobody mentioned that at the beginning. I'm like, who's your fiance? And she mentions the name and I'm like, no. I'm like, no, this can't be happening. I'll start off by saying we don't often have doubles of the same dress.
Uh-oh.
But at this time, I did. So I had sold the fiance this dress and just did the biggest boo-boo and I put her fiance, like the other girl, in that same dress that I had in another size. So thankfully, it wasn't what she was looking for, but like my heart went into my stomach because I'm like, what if she loved that? Like, I would have lost my mind.
It's one thing to go to an event and see another woman with the same dress, but when it's your wedding and
No,
it's
like
your fiancé.
identical, literally just like a size difference. And like she could have said, oh, I love this. Like, this is my dress.
Yes, and you know that whole tradition of, oh, well, the partner can't see the dress before the day of the wedding.
Yes.
You could easily see a circumstance where they both showed up, you know, in the aisle and it's like, wait a sec.
Right?
That looks so familiar.
Could you imagine? And I mean, like they both looked beautiful in that exact same style. The other fiance ended up going with something different that she liked even better. But oh my gosh, it was one for the books, for sure, for sure.
That's fun. Part of your challenge must have to do with location and the style of wedding too. So do you kind of have to guide people in terms of you know the setting or the atmosphere in which they're getting married?
I mean, I'm always like I try to give feedback. I don't just want to stand there and be like, oh, you're pretty, right? Like I want to be practical about it as well. Sometimes brides will say to me, you know, like I have like a big staircase that I have to go down to like get to the ceremony site. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a great time for you to decide between fitted or flowy. If you're doing fitted, you're going to be walking a little bit funny up those stairs. It's a lot. Whereas like if you go with the more like A-line or ball gown style, you're going to just glide right over the stairs. So it's just kind of being, I don't know, that voice of reason for them too.
So what about a beach wedding, for instance?
Yeah. Typically when I'm speaking with brides, they're going for more like simplistic, easy to move in kind of style. But on the flip side, this leads me to another story that I have. The venue shouldn't really matter at the end of the day. Like if you love the dress, wear the dress that you want. So I had this one bride come in and she's like, oh, I'm just getting married like at my cottage. Like it's just like a little lakefront beach. I don't need anything fancy or crazy. So she's trying stuff on and she likes some of them, but nothing's like making her like light up, you know? And I can see her like looking over at the rack behind me and there's like this big sparkly ball gown. It was probably like the poofiest thing we had in the store. And she just keeps kind of like looking at it. So I said to her, I'm like, do you want to like try it on? Like we're at the end here. We're about to retry your favorites. Why don't we just kind of like switch it up? See what you think.
The way you describe it, it's like the dress is flirting with her.
Seriously,
from across the store.
like it was giving her eyes sparkling at her. No, so I put her into it and literally fit her like a glove, and she comes out and like I hadn't seen her look like that in anything that she tried. She looked beautiful in everything that she tried, but she wasn't like glowing,
lit up.
Exactly. So I said to her, I'm like, do you love it? She's like, yeah, I love it. I'm like, well, like it shouldn't matter where you get married. Like if you want to wear a ball gown on the beach, wear a ball gown on the beach. And that's what she did.
Does that sort of situation light you up?
Oh, for sure. Because I always feel bad when people feel like they need to conform to someone else's vision of what they should wear, or, like, let's say you're getting married, like, outside. Like, it doesn't have to be like an outdoor dress, like whatever you would classify that as. Just wear what you feel beautiful in.
It's sort of a microcosm for life in a
Yeah.
way. It's like, is your special day all about everybody else's expectations, or is it about you and who you really are and what you want?
And that's what probably, like, there's no bad part to my line of work, but that's the part that can be really, like, sad when people feel like they need to fit this box when really there is no box. Like, you can do whatever you want. It's your wedding day, right?
So what advice do you have for brides to be?
A vision is great, but an open mind is even better. It's nice having, some elements that you're looking for in a gown, but don't be afraid to try something on that you wouldn't typically see yourself in, because oftentimes the ones that you look at on the hanger and you're like, I don't know, those are the ones that are like, whoa, when you get them on. You need a body in them to really do them justice.
See, I think that's broader. It's also life advice.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Just don't be afraid to, I don't know, take chances or try something new. Yeah.
Keep your mind open.
Exactly. Yeah.
When do you feel really great going home at the end of a day?
My favorite is just making people realize how beautiful they are. It breaks my heart when people come in and they're nervous and they're like, I'm not going to find anything that I like. I'm not going to feel pretty. But at the end of the day, they've got like 5 favorites that they can't pick from. Like, that lights me up because I'm like, look, like, you have 5 different options that you feel amazing in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you came in like next to tears because you didn't think you were going to like anything.
Emma, you know what? I asked you this question at the beginning and you didn't think you were, but I'm sorry, you're a coach. That's beautiful. That is. It's about so much more than a dress.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, at the end of the day, like, you can pick anything. It's just finding that one that makes you feel like $1 million. And it's there, it's out there.
You're
right?
an electrician. You light people up.
No, that's my favorite, is getting those really, really shy, meek, mild people in. But by the end of it, they are just like giddy with joy and yeah.
And shining.
Yeah.
It's
definitely got me out of like my own comfort zone over the years, just bringing that big, like, bright personality. It'll ignite that in other people too.
What's your favorite wedding story? A wedding that you've attended? Maybe even your own? Are you married?
I am married, so it's too funny. When I first started in bridal, I had never been to a wedding. I think I'd been to one before my own.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But I can help in the dress department. Absolutely. Yeah.
What was your wedding like?
I had a beautiful day. It was an outdoor wedding. It poured rain the whole week leading up to it, and I was so scared, but we ended up having like 25-degree weather in September. It was stunning. It was great. I made my husband wait for 30 minutes at the aisle because I wasn't finished getting ready, but what else is new, right?
Exactly. You were setting him up for expectations later on. You might as well be prepared to wait for me. I'm worth waiting for is what you were saying, basically. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun.
No, thank you.
It's a really kind of lovely subject when you think about it.
Oh my gosh, yes. I could talk about it all day.
Thanks so much for listening to the Canadian Love Map. This podcast is presented and made possible by Charm Diamond Centers. It's hosted by me, Nancy Regan, and is produced and distributed by Podstarter. We love sharing love stories of all kinds, and that could include yours. So do you or someone you know have an uplifting tale to tell? Reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram using @CanadianLoveMap or email producer@podstarter.io. We'll be back next week with another love story to add to the map.
You've been listening to a Podstarter production.